Hello, I'm Sally Stanton and welcome back to Snacks and Suitcases, the podcast packed with tips, tricks and real-life stories to make travelling with kids of all ages a whole lot easier and way more fun. And today is the Season 3 opener, and I'm sharing with you my most recent family adventure to New Zealand's North Island.
Mom, can I pack all my teddies?
Okay, let's get started. Snacks and Suitcases is finally back, and boy, have I got some great episodes coming up. I can't wait to get into it. Now, earlier this year, during the school holidays here in Australia, I went off exploring New Zealand's North Island with my family. So I thought, why not discuss it while it's fresh in my mind? And that way I can share with you our road trip itinerary, the surprises along the way, what worked out beautifully and what didn't. But I'm also joined by Renata Wiles, a Kiwi mum, lover of the great outdoors and founder of Roam with Kids, a family travel app designed to help you plan adventures with kids in seconds. She's here to share her local knowledge and give us her suggestions for a fun North Island, New Zealand trip with kids. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Hello, Renata from across the ditch. Actually, I should probably say kia ora. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I should probably say g'day or something. Probably don't really sound very Aussie saying that, do I? But
I feel like everyone said it to me when I was in the North Island recently. It's almost like a beautiful, warm welcome in the Maori language. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. It's just, used for hello and welcome. And if you were traveling around, I'm sure, especially going to cultural sites and things like that, you would have heard it a lot. But yeah, definitely a big warm welcome.
Now, Renata, you are probably one of the biggest nature lovers, adventurers. You love getting outdoors and exploring the wilderness that I've interviewed so far on this podcast.
Oh, cool.
I was doing some research on you and I found out that you even went to a wilderness high school. Is that correct?
Yeah, wow, you have done your research. Yeah, I did. I went to I'm from Auckland. I grew up in Auckland, lived here for most of my life. And then when I was in my final year of high school, I moved down to Wanaka and I went to Mount Aspiring College, which is, it's like an outdoor pursuit school. So it's a normal school. They do all your normal subjects, maths and English, but they also do outdoor pursuits. And so one of my school subjects was learning how to snowboard and kayak and different skills and going tramping and mountain biking. And absolutely loved it. And
awesome.
that school actually produces a lot of Winter Olympic stars. I've been watching them in this most recent Winter Olympics. But yeah, because they just do it as part of their school experience. I think it's amazing.
Oh, wow. I love Wanaka. That's one of my favourite places. I actually had one of the best sausage rolls I've ever eaten in Wanaka.
Oh, no way. Oh, it's such a beautiful part of the country down there. So yeah, I went to school for a year there and then after that, I kind of got hooked on the South Island. I ended up going to Otago University just to stay, it's in that part of the world, but back in Auckland now.
Well, today it's all about the North Island, of course. And this episode's a little bit different to what I usually do. Of course, I'm going to interview you and chat with you about your love of New Zealand, but I also want to get your take on my trip that I recently did. Almost like a critique, but, maybe you can say how I could have improved it. Even though I had the best time, I feel like I fit everything I could into those 10 days. But I'd love to hear from you. But before we get into that, tell us more about Renata Wiles.
So I live in Auckland. I am a mum of two. I have a 5.5-year-old who just started school this year, and I have a 1.5-year-old. Well, actually, he's almost 2. And so I've got 2 kids, and we obviously love traveling. I met my partner in the UK. I was living over in London for almost 10 years, and we traveled a lot together. And then when we had kids, we really didn't want that part of our life to end too much. We actually had our first child during COVID lockdown, and so the traveling was not an option. It was totally off the table. We as soon as New Zealand had quite strict border controls, and as soon as our borders opened up again, me and my partner, we booked a one-way ticket to Singapore, and we went traveling with our almost 2-year-old just under 6 months. And so travel was like a massive part of us. We love traveling and really trying to explore our own back door as much as we can as well, because, New Zealand is just such a great place to travel with kids. I'm obviously biased, but it is amazing. I worked for Flight Centre for about 10 years over in the UK, just specialising in Australia and New Zealand travel. And ended up being a stay-at-home mum for a while, spending a lot of time with my daughter, which I loved. I'll never regret that. I'm so glad that I did. And and then from that, I kind of ended up building my own business, and now I'm self-employed. And that's kind of like a bit of a word vomit on you.
Well, you left out a very big achievement. You developed an app called Roam with Kids. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we went traveling as soon as the borders opened, and we spent a couple of months overseas traveling around Southeast Asia mostly. Also went back to the UK where my partner's from. And, while we were away, we were constantly looking for things to do with kids and kind of Googling every night, reading blogs and then checking on the website if that place was still open, and then looking on Google Maps to see where we could go and trying to plan an itinerary that was great for us but also great for her, and making sure that our trip was enjoyable for all of us, not just us dragging her around to everything we wanted to do. And when we got back from that trip, I think I had post-holiday blues, as we all do when we get back sometimes, and I was like, how can I get over this? And so I thought, I'm going to treat Auckland as if I'm on holiday, almost as if I'm like living in Auckland. And I kept reminding myself, like, this is a destination that people, come to, that they spend a lot of money and a lot of time, they travel here, and we're so lucky that we have this as our back door. And so me and my daughter spent, a lot of time going and finding really cool kid-friendly cafes or really amazing walks that were, toddler suitable, going and finding really epic playgrounds or things that were kind of that I didn't even know about, because I guess up until that point I'd lived in Auckland without kids and I knew how many cool things there were to do without kids. But this was like trying to, look at it in a different way. And I started sharing those recommendations or those places that I was finding on social media. So I started posting like, this is a really cool kid-friendly cafe. You definitely have to check it out if you're in Auckland. Here's a really cool playground or indoor playground. Here's a great walk. And they just always seem to do really well. And I realized that there was a really demand for that content. Like, they wanted to know those recommendations. And from there, I kind of started getting a bit, I'd say, overwhelmed with messages from people like,
oh, really?
I'm going to this part of Auckland. Like, can you recommend somewhere for brunch? Or do you know what's on in this part of Auckland this weekend? And it was getting to the point where I thought, we need a resource that kind of answers these questions. So I can just say, yep, here you go. Here's all of the information. A PDF. And I thought, no, a PDF or a guide. It's, things change too quickly. I wouldn't be able to update it quickly enough. And so I ended up teaching myself how to make this like really basic Google map that was people could buy. So I built this kind of really basic website that just had this one product on it. You could buy the map, and it was a Google map, and people downloaded it onto their phones, and it just worked like an overlay on Google Maps. And so you could see where you were, and you could see, all of these pins that I'd added to the map and why they were so great. And that did really well. I think we sold I think I sold maybe like 500 copies of that or something. And I was getting amazing feedback from people about how helpful it was and how much they were enjoying using it. And I thought, there is such a need for something more, something better than this, because it was pretty basic. And that's when Roam started. So Roam with Kids is my now app. It's available on iOS and Android. And it's basically Google Maps for parents. And so if you're anywhere in New Zealand now and you open it up, you can see what child-friendly cafes are near you, what walks there are. There are filters. You can search by like pram-friendly or change table, fully fenced if you've got a runner and you want to drink your coffee in peace. We also have events in there, and now we have offers as well. So if you're going to say like an indoor playground, you can get a free coffee or discounted entry. And so that's kind of been for the last, I launched Roam a week before I had my second child. I was very heavily pregnant. Had like a week break between launching and then giving birth. And then I had 12 months maternity leave from my job. I'd gone back to work part-time. And so I had 12 months off maternity leave. And I thought, let's just see what happens. And if we can get to a point where this has got enough traction to justify not going back to work and to doing this full-time. And very, very grateful to say that we got there and I was able to resign from my job. And now Roam is kind of my full-time thing. So any excuse to hang out with my kids and go to a park and call it work,
That is fantastic. My daughter is 10 now, but when she was younger, I would have I did want an app like that. And I don't think back then we had anything like that here in Sydney, in Australia.
Yeah.
There's tons of websites and blogs and yes, social media, but you're right. You're cross-checking like this park and is it still open? And you're trying to check all those details and is it near a cafe that has good coffee? You know, that was my prerequisites were a park, coffee, and toilets. Those three things.
Totally.
You know, and sometimes it was just you ticking it off and it was a nightmare. Your app is probably working wonders for parents.
I hope so. I mean, the goal is just to take all of that fragmented information. There's just so much out there and just to put it into one, you know, easy to use platform that has everything you need.
We're all time poor. We don't have time to be doing that cross-checking business.
Totally. Or like scrolling through Google reviews, like searching for like play area as a keyword. Or I'd put like child-friendly cafe and it would be like friendly staff, good cafe. You know, it was like great eggs Benedict or something. And I was like, but do you have a play area? Do you have like high chairs? You know, do you have a change table? And I just couldn't find that information, getting so frustrated. Or showing up somewhere and everyone's tired and hungry and it's not suitable. And you're like, oh, now I'm back in that, or have just recently been back in that nappies phase. And it's like, there is nothing worse than needing a change table. And you go into a cafe, you're like, you order some thirst. You're like, I'll take them to the bathroom. And then you go in, it's like, oh, there's no change table. The floor is so dirty. So it's a pain point that I felt myself. And it's actually been amazing because now when we're traveling around New Zealand, I use it out, you know, when we're out and about as well to find places because our users submit places for us now to add to the map. I heard from a friend recently, she was driving from Auckland to Wellington and she was like, oh, we used it to find playgrounds to stop at. We could plan our route. We could plan where we were going to stop, where we were going to stop for lunch, you know, all of these things. And it's like,
so good.
Yeah, that's what we all need, right?
I can't believe I didn't know about this before I went on my trip. And I hear, is this true? It may launch internationally soon.
Yes, so that's what we're working on at the moment. It feels big and scary to say. I think this is the first time I've actually spoken about it out loud. I put a LinkedIn post with like a teaser. We're going to go international. But yeah, that's on the plans for this year. So I guess watch this space and just see what happens.
Yes, please come to Sydney. You've got to have one here. There's an insatiable appetite for that sort of stuff. I can help you.
Thanks. Okay, I'll take you up on that.
Okay, so New Zealand's North Island, which we're going to focus on today. What do you love about this area for kids specifically?
I mean, obviously I'm biased because I love New Zealand. You know, I have grown up here. I've lived here for most of my life. I have travelled it with my own kids. And I think that what makes New Zealand great is firstly, you know, that everywhere that we've been with our kids is really welcoming of kids. It's like everything is kind of just set up in a way that welcomes kids to be part of life. You know, cafes are very welcoming. They've got play areas or kids menus. It's like you're never feeling like, oh, you know, we shouldn't really go to this place because we've got our kids with us. There's playgrounds everywhere. There's lots of like green open spaces for them to run around. I think these are kind of like general things, but also there are a lot of things specifically for kids and places to go, like whether it's like cultural attractions or activities. There's a lot of events happening all the time, and there's actually a lot of free stuff to do with kids. And so you're not always having to pay a lot of money on top of your trip to go and find cool things to do. There's a lot of free stuff going on as well. And I think for me, I just feel like New Zealand is such an easy destination. And, you know, we don't have a lot of things like, we don't have snakes. We don't have like, you know, spiders that can, you know, cause damage.
Hey, are you saying that we have snakes here and we have spiders? Yeah, we do.
I mean, yeah. But, you know,
there's our friendly competitiveness with New Zealand.
Yeah, totally. But I think as a destination, it's like really safe for kids. And like our beaches are very safe, our outdoor spaces. You know, the biggest worry really is like sunburn, which is very easy to manage. And, you know, compared to a lot of other things. And so I think when you're traveling with kids, there's an element of being a bit more relaxed because there's a lot of other things that you're just not having to worry about. Like even the fact that we have, you know, less people, there's less cars on the road, things like that. Just for me, I just have this sense of safety traveling here with my kids. And that's really helps you to relax more on holiday.
Yeah. That was everything you mentioned was my recent experience as well. It did feel very safe.
Yeah.
And less people. I never really noticed it before, but there was hardly anyone.
Yeah.
And we were going to tourist hotspots in high season.
Yeah.
The longest line I think I saw was at the luge in Rotorua. There was a queue, but it wasn't that long.
And they often move really fast.
Yes, move very fast, very fast. It's not, sometimes you go to an island where they're, relax and everything's on island time.
Yeah.
It was not like that in New Zealand. The lines were going quickly, everything was organised.
Yeah.
Hardly anyone there. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that with kids, one of the worst things is getting stuck in a line waiting for something and everybody's patience is running out. And I feel like in New Zealand, we don't have that problem so much. It's just no matter what you're doing, it's kind of like there's just less people, less crowds. It just makes it kind of, for me anyway, like it can be a lot more enjoyable with kids.
People warned us about, Rotorua is going to get busy. The luge is one of the most popular things. And so we went first thing when it opened. Not busy. When we left, that was like 11 o'clock. So it was busy, but not compared to anywhere else.
Totally. And I think, your kids are at that perfect age, probably slightly older than mine, where New Zealand is kind of, we market ourselves as the adventure capital of the world, and there's adventure suitable for kids. So things like the luge, the zorbing, all of those kind of adventure things. It's not just the really extreme stuff like bungee jumping, and there's actually a lot whether it's a treetop walk or something, there's a lot that's suitable for kids that fits in that adventure category. And I think pushing them to do things that are really fun, maybe a bit out of their comfort zone, it's really exhilarating. And I think, slightly older kids, like in that kind of later primary age, really there's so much for them to do as well.
Do you feel like the North Island is more for younger kids and the South Island is kind of that adrenaline junkie, wilderness exploring adventures?
Yeah, I think that for me personally, the North Island offers so much for families. Like there's just so much that's suitable for kids and that's suitable for families. And the South Island definitely has it as well. But for me, when I think of the South Island, I think of like that real intense adrenaline junkie stuff. And I also kind of think of like the beautiful vineyards and the more like scenic views and also potentially like longer driving days to get to places. And I also think the scenery in the South Island is just unparalleled to anywhere else. It's so epic. And I don't know if kids appreciate that in the same way that adults do. You could go to Milford Sound with your kids and that's really fun and really stunning. But they might probably prefer to go to Sheep World. So it's like it's just
that's what we did.
Yeah. There's just different things on offer, and I do feel like the North Island for me, if you've got young kids, is amazing. And as your kids get older, the South Island opens up a lot more opportunities. People might disagree with me on that. That's just my personal take. But we've done Queenstown and Wanaka and the South Island with our daughter, and we've also done a lot of trips in the North Island. And I think, for us, we've got a lot more on our bucket list in the North Island still that we want to do with kids. I think you made the right choice coming to the North Island. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. I had been to the North Island when I was younger and for work, but never with my daughter. And we've done the South Island a few times, and she's been skiing in Queenstown and everything, which is different to doing a whole South Island adventure. And you're right. The landscape is epic. And I've said this before on the podcast, but landing in Queenstown is like nowhere else in the world. I know Switzerland's amazing and everything, but New Zealand, it blew me away. I am not a fan of Lord of the Rings or anything, but I knew that straight away you feel like you're on set in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, totally. I would be keen to know if somebody has a airport that they think is more stunning than Queenstown. Please let me know, because honestly, flying into Queenstown, the whole flight in, you're just flying through the Alps, and then you land and you walk off the plane and you're just met with this most amazing scenery. And I think, I'd be keen to maybe after this, I might go and ask my 5-year-old, like, what did you think when we landed in Queenstown? But I don't think they appreciate it in the same way that an adult or older kids do. And so I think that, like save that trip for when they're slightly older would be my take. And when they're in that really young phase, there's just so much more on offer, personally, I think, in the North Island.
Yeah. Well, the reason why we chose it was, yes, what I said before, we've been to the South Island and everything, but we like nice food and wine. We've done kind of the regions down south, and we wanted to keep everyone happy by also having kid-friendly activities, and that's what we could do in the North Island. So we went, bam, we're going there. Also, I asked my daughter one day, where do you want to go next for holiday? And she said, New Zealand.
Cool.
So everyone was happy. Win-win, very
amazing. Easy. Yeah, I think it's like finding that perfect balance on holiday, right? Of things that you want to do and things that they want to do. And when Josh and I took our daughter traveling, when we went to Asia, we had this similar conversation around, we want this to be an enjoyable experience for her. Like, we also want her to grow up loving traveling and not just feeling like she's being dragged around to where we want to go. And so it's finding that balance. And I think, in New Zealand, you really can do that very easily. There's so many things for kids, but there's also obviously so many things for adults. And so, it's like hitting that sweet spot. We try to explain to her now, like, when we're doing something for us, but we're going to be doing this, and then we're going to be doing this thing for you, and we're making sure that everybody has something. And then one thing that we do, not just when we're traveling, but in our family, is at dinner time every night we say, what was our favorite thing today? We reflect on the day, and we always try and highlight that in the day there's been things that we did with them in mind, and there's been things that we've done that were for us, and it kind of almost normalizing that as adults we want to fill our cup as well, and not have like our whole world, just revolving around doing things for kids all the time. Like, trying to explain to her that it's that balance. And so she is aware, like, oh, we're doing something really boring now, but I know we're going to do something fun later.
Yes, the rose, thorn, and bud. Have you heard of those three?
No, I haven't. That's so good.
Oh, the rose of your day, the thorn of your day, and the bud is what you want to improve on, or it's blossoming.
Oh, I love that.
I think that's what the bud means.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it at her school as well. But you know what? In what you just said, you've got to show your children that you've got to do something for the parents as well. Like, everyone should get something. And I think I've made that mistake with always saying my rose is, watching you love walking up that mountain.
Yeah.
And I find it really hard to, I think a lot of mums do this as well, find something I'm happy for myself. And I feel almost selfish saying, well, I really enjoyed going to the spa.
Yeah. And I think it's like, that's so natural. We're all, as you say, we're all absolutely like that. We want our kids to know how much we enjoy spending time with them. And And, I always say, like, I hope that my kids will grow up and look back on their childhood and think, like, wow, our parents really loved being with us. They really loved spending time with us. And so, we do the same. It's like, what's your favorite? Our default at the moment seems to be, what's your favorite thing today? And me and my partner both end up saying, like, oh, right now, all being together for dinner time. We've been apart all day and now we're together again. And that's our favorite thing. And then sometimes, he plays basketball once a week, and sometimes he'll say, well, I haven't done it yet, but I think basketball after dinner is going to be my favorite thing. And I think actually it's really great to tell our kids that we have things that we love doing as well. And we have our own, rich lives, and hopefully, and, personal interests. And that also allows them to have their own personal interests and their own things that they loved that wasn't just revolving around family time. So yeah, hopefully we strike that balance.
All right, let's move on to talking about the itinerary that I followed, and we'll see what you think about that.
Yes, cool, yeah.
I mean, we had the best time. I really don't have too many complaints. First of all, I just want to say New Zealand's coffee is amazing. I just got to get out there.
Yeah.
I was very surprised by that. Your coffee, Australia's got pretty good coffee in Sydney, but New Zealand, tick.
I'm actually so surprised that it's like, I would have assumed that Australian coffee was on par. So I'm so surprised by that.
Well, it depends where you go. We do, like, luckily, I live in a city, so there's lots of options. But there's still places I would not return to, even in the area I live, which is known for good coffee. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So normally I would be needing an app like yours to find good coffee, but on our road trip,
found it everywhere. Oh, that's so good.
Yes,
well, if I come to
everywhere.
Sydney, I'm going to have to hit you up for like the best spot, so don't go anywhere that's...
Oh, I will definitely give them to you, yes. Okay, so we went from Auckland to Wellington. So we flew into Auckland and then we flew out of Wellington, which worked out really well, and we rented a car. And actually, when I said everything went well, to be honest with you, at the start, we had a few issues with the rental car company.
Oh, no.
In New Zealand, our credit card, we couldn't use, it's something to do with the chip in there.
Yeah.
It would not work at the rental car company, as we arrived to start
that's
our
so
trip.
frustrating.
Yeah, luckily we had a backup Amex and that seemed to work, but thank goodness. And then when we drove from the airport to our hotel, it was torrential rain, like almost tropical. Is that normal in Auckland?
I hate to say it, but yeah, it's becoming more and more common. And, we are actually a tropical climate country, like especially the North Island. The South Island is, because New Zealand is so long and thin, and I think people don't sometimes realize how, like, I always use this comparison, like if you put the top of the North Island at the top of Scotland, the South Island would be like all the way down in Spain. Like, we're so long.
Wow.
And so our climate is really different, and the North Island is a tropical climate, and so it can be humid, it can have bad rainfall. it doesn't always, but compared to the South Island where it's a lot more stable.
It doesn't really get hot in New Zealand though, does it?
Not compared to Australia. I mean, it does for me. I struggle with the heat sometimes.
So that torrential rain was a bit scary on the first day, but then it stopped,
I can imagine.
and we had the best weather the rest of the trip. No more rain, just gorgeous, gorgeous days. So that was good. But we didn't have time to really see much of Auckland. And I wanted to. So where would you recommend are the top sites for kids in Auckland?
It's interesting because I actually wrote this down as in my notes that when I was reading throughout what we're going to chat about. And I think that this is something that so many people do is they fly into Auckland, they just use it as like a big airport, big city to fly into, and then they kind of take off straight away. And there is actually so much to do in Auckland. Like there's so many amazing, beautiful walks. The scenery here is so great. Like we're kind of at the little thin part of the country. And so you can easily access the East Coast beaches and the West Coast beaches, which are very wild and rugged. And, I know we talked about scenery before, but really kind of beautiful. And there's also a lot of like really cool free things to do. And I guess Auckland's very similar to Sydney. So maybe, the appeal for you guys is not quite the same. We've got the harbour bridge and, it's like based on the harbour. But I think in Auckland, it's like we have great cafe culture here. There's a lot of really great places for kids. We've got some really epic playgrounds right on the beach.
Yeah, your playgrounds are next level. I've got to say that. Every single playground we saw, we were like, whoa. And, at 10, my daughter's getting a little bit over playgrounds, but not in New Zealand. She's very happy with all of them.
They are really cool. And especially for older kids, we have some that are a bit more challenging, the really high climbing ones and things like that. But I think, Auckland for me, it's like people just don't spend enough time here. And for somebody, for your daughter's age, there's lots of things like there's a Weta Workshop experience in Auckland. There's like the All Blacks experience. There's kind of those touristy things like that. But there's also really great scenery. There's lots of free activities. Even things like, the museum or the Maritime Museum. There's lots of great cafes. There's lots of great coastal walks and things like that. Places that you can hire bikes and cycle along the waterfront. There's just like a lot in Auckland, the same as with Sydney, where I think people kind of come in and then they go straight away. And I guess, especially for adults, there's lots of cool, adrenaline things here as well, like the bungee off the harbour bridge or off the Sky Tower. And so we do still have those cool activities, but I feel like they don't get as much airtime as, everyone just goes to Queenstown for that stuff. So yeah, I think people should spend more time, give themselves a bit more time in Auckland because, I live here. I love it. I think it's one of the best cities ever. But there is just so much here as well. So,
well, I did want to spend more time, but one of the tips someone gave me was book Hobbiton first and then everything around it because it books out so quickly. And I jumped on the website. This was maybe back in October, and there was this only one day, and it was the second day of our trip to get in. So we couldn't spend much time in Auckland. We stayed the night and then just drove to Hobbiton the next day, which was stunning.
What did you think of Hobbiton?
I absolutely loved it. Like I said before, I'm not into Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Have seen little bits of them but can't stay awake. But my partner's obsessed. He's a real film lover. He's a cameraman, so he's into all of that stuff. And I'm interested in seeing how the movie was made. I thought the tour was you start off as a group and you can sort of go at your own pace. But no, you've got to stay in the group. And I told my daughter that we can go off at our own pace. And so when we got there, she was pretty cranky because she was getting a bit bored. Because you can't go into every single door and you can't, touch too many things. But like for me, I loved it. And the tour guide was amazing. But when we finally got to the end, you can go into 2 of the Hobbit holes. And that was just like a child's playground. She
so cool.
was so happy in there. I was happy in there. Everything's built Hobbit size. So for children, it's almost like the best cubby house a kid could have.
Yeah, so cool. It's very whimsical, isn't it? For a kid, it's
very much like a story, which is exactly what it is, straight from a movie.
Yeah. Hobbiton does book out, and that's such great advice for anyone that's coming here is to book it. If you're wanting to do that, if it's like a must do, definitely book it before you come so you can secure your dates. And exactly like you did, it's it would be terrible if it was on your your bucket list to do, and then you get here and it's sold out, you just kick yourself. So yeah, definitely great that you guys were able to get in.
I absolutely recommend it for everyone. You can't push strollers or anything along the path. So there was one family who had a little baby about probably 6 months or a bit older, carrying the baby the whole way. And there's no toilets either except at the start. So for little kids, it might be tough. What do you think?
We haven't done it with our daughter because, well, we've got 2 now, but because of those reasons, we feel like she'll appreciate it more when she's older. It's one of those ones where, like, I think also, she's fine now, but previously, when you're in those like toilet training years and things like that, it's just like going on a tour where there's no bathrooms and they're having to walk and stuff, and you can't have an option for a pram. It's not something that would like stop us from doing it, but I think that it's on our list for when she gets slightly older, and I think we always normally travel with a carrier for our baby anyway, because I find there's nothing worse than thinking somewhere's pram friendly and then actually it's not, or you get stuck or something like that. And so we always have the carrier with us to put him in, and the same with our daughter, every time we traveled with her when she was younger, because it can be unreliable with pram access. So yeah. So interesting to hear your thoughts on it though, because it's definitely, as I say, it's on our list to do with our daughter when she's like slightly older.
Yeah. I just, when you said toilet training, that would be tough there because there's nowhere you could do a bush wee.
Yeah,
is that what you call them in New Zealand? We call them bush wees here.
Yes, we do. Yeah. No, she
discreetly nowhere.
Yeah, I know. She's kind of got I shouldn't say this, but she's kind of carefree. She'll like do a bush wee anywhere, and I'm like, no, you really need to find a bush for the bush wee. Like that's quite a crucial part of it. The privacy. But I think with younger kids, it's just like. Just still so great. Like they would still love it and still so suitable. But I think because there's so many other cool things to do. But then if you're coming all the way to New Zealand and it's on your bucket list, like I'm just such a believer that you can make anything work. If you really want to do something and you've got kids with you, like you can still make it work.
It is such a gorgeous location, the rolling green hills. Like what an introduction to New Zealand, driving there from Auckland.
Yeah.
We stopped at, is it Tarau?
Oh, Tarau, yeah.
On the Wales, trying to find a good spot for lunch because we were seeing Hobbiton. I was calling it Hobbiton for a long time. Hobbiton after lunch. So stopping in this little town that had a giant dog and giant sheep. My daughter loves dogs, so this was a bit of a surprise for her.
Cool.
And then you also have a bakery. I can't remember the name, but it's famous for its meat pies.
Yeah.
Cheesy meat pies, which is like a New Zealand thing.
Is it? Oh gosh, I didn't know that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
I feel like
that's a good place.
Such a staple, like a mince and cheese pie. Surely you have, surely that, oh gosh, I'm learning something new. I did not know that was like a uniquely New Zealand thing. Oh, so add that to your list then. Have to try a mince and cheese pie.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name, but if you look up bakery in Tarau, it'll be there. I think there's only one.
Yeah, and you can't miss it because, the like corrugated iron dog. And I think there's a sheep as well.
Yeah, there's a sheep. Yeah. And there's an op shop inside. I love op shopping. And a little library, I think, and kind of a visitor centre all in one. It's very interesting, but it's a cute spot to stop.
That's very New Zealand to have just like a little kind of like info centre with like a little shop or something and a bakery and just like everything. Yeah, everything there for people to stop off.
I love it. New Zealand, I feel, still has in their little towns, they haven't had commercialisation come through.
Yeah, I think, we're big on small businesses and supporting local. And I think whenever there's like a chain come through, there's always a lot of local resistance to it. But I think this was one of my, I know I'm kind of skipping ahead, but we had spoken about, mistakes that people make when they're coming to New Zealand. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is not allowing enough time for like spontaneity and to stop off in these little places that you're driving through, or just to stop at a scenic lookout or a really cool, spot for kids. People, New Zealand, everyone drives, right? So same as you guys did, you flew in and you drove from Auckland to Wellington. And sometimes people look at Google Maps, they think, oh, that's a 2-hour drive. So we'll allow like 2 hours or 2.5 hours maybe. And actually there's so many cool spots that you might want to stop off on the way, like lookout points, or like you drive past a really epic playground, or you see a really cute little town and you think, I'd love to stop and have a wander around these shops. And just allowing a bit more time for unplanned time, spontaneity, I think it's just such a mistake that people kind of rush from one spot to another and they miss out on everything in between. And yeah, it's just really it's that saying, it's like the journey, not the destination. And I think that applies so much in New Zealand. Like, just allow a bit more time for that journey and allow time to stop off and not be rushing from one place to the next, because you don't often know, those are the things you can't plan for when you're at home researching your trip. And just allow yourself a bit more time so that you can say yes to those opportunities and to stopping off and to really just, and especially in New Zealand, if you come in summer, there's so many real fruit ice cream places.
Oh my gosh. One of my favorite things about the trip, I saw all these signs, real fruit ice cream. I'm like, what are they talking about? Real fruit ice cream.
Please tell me you got one though.
All the time. I think that was my favorite thing to eat in New Zealand. And I think it could be my favorite ice cream in the whole world.
It's so good,
right? I had
right?
it everywhere, gelato, French ice cream, Japan. But that, it felt healthier, but I don't know if it is.
I mean, we can tell ourselves, right? But it's so nice just to be able to like stop off. And there's also a lot of kind of like honesty boxes and things like that. And so if you're driving around, it's really common in New Zealand that somebody, if they have a surplus of something or they're selling something, they'll just put bags of them out at a little stand on the street, and there'll be like a little honesty box, and it'll say like $2 a bag or something. And it's just literally, as the name suggests, relying on people being honest and putting some money in to take the things. But there's a lot of that, especially in summer with summer fruit and things. And just, like being able to stop and to have these kind of like little, almost like micro experiences about things that are really uniquely Kiwi. I think just allow more time for that, like allow more time in your schedule. That's what I would say. It's the biggest mistake I think people make.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with kids, it's even more important.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll continue our journey, our road trip. We went for, by the way, this was the number one thing I noticed before we went to New Zealand, because I joined some of those Facebook groups where they give tips and advice, and everybody was asking for, is this itinerary good? Is this road trip good? What road trip do you recommend with kids? How should we get from here to here? That was the number one question. So this is why I'm sharing my one.
Yeah, I see that all the time as well. And I think that's why I say, allow more time, because whenever I see posts like that in these Facebook groups and things, it's like, okay, so we're going to drive like this really long drive and to get to this place. And then the next day we're going to do this other really long drive to get to this place. And it's like, just like allow yourself a bit more time. But I know that I'm the same when I go on holiday. You want to see everything. So
yeah. So Rotorua, I was nervous going in about the smell.
Yes.
My only memory of it from my childhood. This is what I remembered when I was a kid. I have this one like, it's very vivid in my mind, this one thought. My sister fell over at some geothermal site and I freaked out that it was going to erupt into a volcano, and I ran away and I thought she was going to die.
No.
And that was...
Oh my gosh, that sounds terrifying.
Which is not going to happen. It's not going to happen, guys. But that was my one memory. So I really wanted to go back and, put an end to that.
And how did you find the smell when you came back now?
Okay, so when we first got in, I could smell it, definitely. I am quite sensitive to smells, but it comes and goes. It's kind of with the breeze, I think, and some spots are stronger than others. Unfortunately, the hotel that I booked was right behind the Polynesian spa near the lake, and it was probably the strongest smelling spot in all of Rotorua, and inside the hotel it smelled the whole time. In the elevator when the door shut, we'd hold our breath. That was my mistake, my bad. I booked the wrong hotel. It was Millennium Hotel. It's just, I had a bad experience there.
That is something that is hard to know, because you can't tell how much does somewhere smell based on Google Maps or, reviews or whatever.
Yes. And even everyone's got different opinions on it too, I noticed. And it's probably based on where they stayed.
Totally.
But I didn't hear any bad comments, and friends said, oh, no, you'll get used to it. But it was just the hotel. But I did get used to it, and it was only that area. Nowhere else was really that bad.
Yeah, I think, as you say, it comes and goes, and it does depend on where you are, because it's if you for those that haven't been and you kind of like, what are we talking about? The smell, it's like a sulfur smell. So it's because there's a lot of geothermal activity there, and there's a lot of open pools of basically bubbling mud. Is the best way to describe it, and it does have a very distinctive smell. And I don't know, like you could say it's kind of similar to like rotten eggs, which makes it sound terrible. It's not.
No. That's exactly what it smells like.
Yeah, it's not great. I do think, this is such a generalization, but I do think for most people, you get used to it. But I think that even with the smell, I still rate it highly as a destination to go with kids. And if you're coming to New Zealand and, you just kind of like, know that the smell will pass as soon as you leave. You know, you're not going to be having it for the whole time that you're here.
Yeah. Every single thing we did there was at the top of the list. It was all a highlight. My daughter's favourite part was Rotorua. What did we do? We went to, for me, I really wanted to go and have a mud bath. That was my thing.
Yes.
So we went to Hell's Gate and
amazing.
Definitely recommend it. Even kids can get in there and put the mud all over their body. You know, I really just wanted to come out of there looking younger because apparently that's what it does. Not sure about that.
You.
I did feel my skin felt soft and I wanted to ease the muscles and the joints, which I do believe it can help. You probably need to do that every day though.
I definitely think that there's so many benefits from the waters down there and from bathing in them. And, you know, and as you say, like there's Hell's Gate and then there's the Polynesian Spa, which we were staying just next to, and they have a family pool there. It's actually got like a little slide into the pool as well. And I felt, you know, we just went once when we were there, but I felt after that like, oh yeah, I do feel kind of, you know, like I could imagine if you did this all the time, you would feel more of the benefits, but maybe it's placebo. But no, I definitely agree with you. I think I felt great afterwards.
Well, I loved it. That we didn't go to Polynesian Spa. We actually ended up going to a place called Debrett's in Taupo.
Oh, yes.
Which, I don't want to, it was the hottest day of our trip.
Yeah.
And they don't have one cold pool there.
Yeah.
So it was too hot to be in a hot spring.
Yes.
The coldest pool was 38 degrees, I think. So that it was just unbearable.
Yeah.
We wasted a bit of money there, unfortunately.
I think that I really always recommend both Rotorua and Taupo as destinations to go in winter. If you're coming to New Zealand in winter, there's such amazing destinations because you still get all of the cultural stuff, you still get all of the beautiful views, you still get, you know, the geothermal activity, and then you can go, it's freezing cold and you can go into these hot pools and it's like really lovely. And I think, you know, also for Kiwis, like we went for our winter holiday to Taupo this year or last year, and like so great being in the hot pools with the kids. Like we didn't stay at Debrett's, but we stayed at Lake Taupo Holiday Resort, which is just like it's very similar, and it's got kind of hydro slides for the kids into a cold pool, and then it's got a big pool with and they've got, you know, all of the stuff for kids there. There's like a playground and there's go-karts you can hire, and there's like kids playroom, and but it's just, you know, in winter, it was such a perfect spot to go to.
That was the exact thought I had. Like, this would be so beautiful in winter. I love it's almost like you go to Japan to the onsen and you sit outside with the snow around you. It's nothing better than that. But in summer, it was a little bit too much for us. Yeah, so I kind of wish I just did the Polynesian Spa because it had more options there.
Yeah.
So next time I would do that. But everything else we did in Rotorua, as I said before, the luge, my daughter's highlight.
It's so fun.
We went to Agrodome, has all the sheep, deer, alpacas. You get the real New Zealand experience there.
Totally.
And then what else do we do in Rotorua? Goodness. Oh, the amazing treetop walk in the redwoods, which I had no idea about. I felt like I was in California.
It's so cool, right?
I didn't know redwoods were so abundant in New Zealand.
I know. Well, I think, did you do the daytime one or the nighttime one? Because they offer both.
We did the daytime. Yeah. Well, again, I was thinking it's going to be too busy at nighttime. But it probably wouldn't have been. But we did like afternoon because we thought this will be a quiet time. We actually went after Hell's Gate and we did the treetop. But then we also walked on the ground amongst the trees. And there's all different walks that go from like 15 minutes to an hour or more. Even that alone is pretty spectacular.
It's amazing. I think that's such a hidden gem that a lot of people don't know about. And I think if you've got older kids and you can be out at nighttime, you know, we've got a bit of a curfew on us. But if you can be out at nighttime, the treetops at nighttime are like stunning as well. Very cool. But yeah, that's also it's pram friendly. Like they have these little prams that you can get. So if you've got a baby with you, they've got these like purpose built prams for the track.
To go up the top.
Yeah. So you can go up the top with a baby in a pram, which I think is really cool as well. And yeah, it's not too long as well, which I think is great for kids. And there's lots of little spots that you can stop and sit. So you're not kind of holding people up. You can walk along the bridges and then you get to a big tree and there's the seats around it, you know, and you can stop and you can kind of take it all in and let people pass or, you know, let people catch up or whatever. We've done it twice and both times it's never been really busy. It's always been kind of like there's lots of people there, but you don't feel like it's really crowded. I felt like it's still very peaceful. And I think, the nature of it, like people are probably mindful of like it's a very kind of feels almost like a serene place to be. And so nobody's really talking loud and being noisy. But yeah, it's so cool. We love that as well.
Yeah, and they've also got all the flying foxes and I think a tree walk, the ropes course.
Yes.
We didn't do it, but it's there as well for kids too. So that was a highlight. And there's so many redwoods throughout New Zealand. I can't believe I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does feel like you're in California or something, doesn't it?
Or Canada. Because I went to a place in Canada called the Capilano Suspension Bridge in Vancouver. Okay. It's similar. It lights up with fairy lights. And we didn't do that at night either because back then my daughter was 3, I think. But it was still beautiful. If you can't do it at night, don't worry. You're not, you're still going to enjoy it. I think just doing it in the day is just as amazing. Like it's almost worth, doing both if you can. But I would, for us, we just did it in the day and I thought it was amazing. I definitely recommend it. And it's suitable for all ages and it's not a challenging walk, and it's, it's great. Yeah, I loved it. And so we were talking about Taupo before, which we spent one night in on our way to Hawke's Bay. Do you suggest people stay in Taupo and then do activities in both areas, Rotorua and Taupo?
I don't know if this is controversial to say, but I would just have all of the time in Rotorua. Like if you're there with kids.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that Taupo is amazing with kids as well, but your trip is funny because your recent trip is very similar to the last trip that we did in New Zealand as well.
Oh, that makes me feel good. An expert.
We almost followed the same path. So, but we didn't spend, we spent time at the hotel in Taupo and we spent time in the pools and the hydro slides. And of course we went, I don't know if you went to the McDonald's. We're not really McDonald's eaters, but it's in an aeroplane and it's like iconic,
We did take a photo. We took a photo of the plane. That was cool.
Yeah. We got the kids some fries and we sat in the aeroplane and there's like a little playground stuff. And we were like, we just have to because it's in an aeroplane, for the experience. Yeah. And we went to Hooker Falls as well, which was, stunning. But like with kids, my daughter didn't think it was that impressive. She was kind of over it. And I think there was just so much more to do in Rotorua that we would have loved to have more time there. So I would say if you're picking between the two, that's where my vote goes. We've touched on a few of the things that there are to do with kids, but there's so much more. And there's also, like Te Puia or, the going to the geothermal parks. There's also just the free, the
free geothermal park. Yeah.
Yeah, the main park in town has, you can walk around and see all of the bubbling mud and stuff for free. You don't need to pay for it.
And they have a little foot bath there.
They do, yeah. So you can sit on the edge and put your feet in and just relax and stuff. There's also a playground there.
I have to mention another epic playground on the waterfront in Rotorua. That was my daughter's favourite. We went back and her favourite thing was the seesaw. I don't know why. It was like this different seesaw, but she loved it. So did my partner.
It is epic. That's like a relatively new in the last, couple of years, the lakefront playground. It is truly epic and also really great for all ages. There's a lot of stuff for younger kids, like the sandpit area and things. And then there's some really big, more challenging stuff for older kids as well. And I think it's, we call them, I don't know if you call them the same in Australia, but here we call them destination playgrounds, where it's like worth traveling to. It's like a destination in itself.
They're starting to advertise that here, I noticed. I work on a travel show here in Sydney, and that's what they wanted me to say about a massive playground in the northern suburbs.
Yeah. So we have a lot of those here and we call them destination playgrounds, which is basically just meaning it's like worth going to for the sake of just going, like it's a destination to go to, and so the lakefront playground is one of those and we love it as well.
Well, we went there at the end of each day around 8 p.m. because it's still sunny in New Zealand at 8 p.m. And it was packed every night. There's ice cream there as well, of course.
Yes, there is. And it's right on the lake and so it's really beautiful and it's, it's a nice spot. Like even just Josh and I would sit and drink our coffee and like look at the views and our daughter was playing and it was just, just so lovely.
It is a beautiful spot. So maybe stopping at Taupo on your way to your next destination for lunch would be good.
Yeah, and I'm really keen to know what your thoughts on, so you went to the Hawke's Bay after that. I would love to hear what you thought about that. Yeah.
Well, that was our next wine and foodie spot, and we hired an Airbnb there. So we were staying in hotels until we got there. So that was really nice to have a proper shower, wash out, the Rotorua smell from the hair.
Needed.
Gosh, we had a pool and a hot tub in our Airbnb, and it wasn't that expensive.
Amazing.
New Zealand is kind of one of the rare places where our dollar is worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
I feel like it's New Zealand and Japan, really, for developed countries where the dollar is strong. So for us, it felt quite good. And we stayed in Havelock North, which had so many great restaurants.
Yeah.
There were a couple there, Mary's and I think Pippi's Pizza, where everything's pink.
Yeah.
Great food. And we had a friend who listens to the podcast, actually.
Oh, cool.
Carly. She suggested some places to stay in, to visit, for kids. And one of them was the sunflower farm and the strawberry picking.
Yes. Yeah.
And I, Renata, have been trying to do both those things with my daughter her whole life for 10 years here in Sydney. But we keep missing the window because it's quite short window at home.
Yeah.
So these were very cheap things to do. I think it was $5 or something to go in and pick your own sunflower, take these gorgeous photos. They set them up for Instagram. They have the frame, they have a giant swing, and it was just beautiful, slow-paced travel, relaxing.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I really loved it. Why? What are your thoughts?
So we only went for like 2 nights, I think. So we had one kind of full day and then 2 half days. And we stayed in Napier.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Napier, gorgeous. Art Deco town.
Yeah, beautiful. And we didn't really travel around too much. I think by this point, we didn't know until we got home. Our daughter had been complaining that she wasn't feeling well. She felt tired. Turns out that she had COVID. And so we were kind of like, and we were also we were camper vanning. So we were in a van. And we kind of got to this point in our trip where we got to Napier, and it was kind of I guess it was the part of the trip where it was more about what the adults wanted to do rather than what the kids wanted to do. And so we had, it's like you have these experiences that are sometimes brushed with how everyone's moods were, and so I always remember that. But it was such a stunning town. Like the Art Deco, we wanted to do an Art Deco tour, but even just walking around and looking at it yourself, so spectacular. And, we did still find some really cool things to do with her. Like there's a little art gallery that was really great for kids and had some interactive things. And walking along the waterfront, it was really beautiful. We saw sea lions on the beach, and that was, probably a highlight for her. She loves wildlife, and so that was very cool. The playgrounds and the skate parks. It was definitely the part of the trip where I think, as you say, you guys went for the food and wine. Josh and I were the same. We were there like thinking it was somewhere that I had never been in New Zealand, and so we were like, yeah, we really want to go. Beautiful, beautiful town. Amazing food and wine. We really loved it. But I think in terms of like the activities to do with like young kids, we also, she wasn't feeling well, and so she wasn't keen to do that much. But we didn't probably explore that as much as we would have otherwise if we'd maybe had a bit more time. Probably if you're into food and wine, I would say like one of the, most underrated regions. Like people often think of Central Otago or Queenstown or, but actually for food and wine, the Hawke's Bay is definitely add it to your list.
Oh, yeah. And some quite good family-friendly wineries too. We couldn't get into Craggy Range. That one booked out for lunch, but that's supposedly quite good for kids. And Black Barn Vineyards was huge. It has so much there. This little stage was getting set up, kind of like an amphitheatre, and they had a market. Every weekend, I think there's a market. It's really cute. I spent a fortune on Manuka honey, but it will cure me of all illnesses, so money well spent.
Manuka honey is amazing. Yeah, definitely. Worth the money. But yeah, no, there are some really great vineyards there, some great wineries, some great restaurants. If food and wine, we all have different travel motivators, the things that we travel for. And if food and wine is one of your things that you love traveling for, it's 100% worth a visit, 100% worth stopping off. And I would say give yourself more than a day. We just had a day there and it wasn't enough.
I think we had about four nights, I think.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
And Church Road Winery. We went there for lunch in their gorgeous barrel room. It's enormous. And also an outside area to match. Just huge green space, almost as big as an oval for kids to run around and be free, because kids, they don't like visiting wineries for some reason.
I actually feel like that's almost like a universal truth across New Zealand. I feel that like so many vineyards here or, wineries are they do have quite a lot of like outdoor space with like sometimes lawn games and things like that. I know not in Hawke's Bay, but Waiheke Island is really popular for that as well. If you're in Auckland, that's 100% worth it. Even as a day trip, it's worth it. But they have some amazing vineyards there that are really child friendly. Like our favorite one, the Heke, they have a jumping pillow for kids. They have like a climbing frame. They've got like a little mud kitchen. There's a sand pit. There's like this horse thing that you can ride on. And then they have everything that a normal vineyard has as well. And so I would say, like, as a general rule, there are some amazing family-friendly vineyards and wineries. So not just limited to Hawke's Bay, but yeah, all of New Zealand.
Yeah, that's funny. In Australia, well, in New South Wales, they don't really have many wineries that are family-friendly. I feel it's like they don't want the kids there. I get that.
Yeah.
But they would bring in a whole bunch of people if they did have something to entertain kids. Some of them do. But in Margaret River in Western Australia, every vineyard we visited had similar things, play area, a pirate ship to play on.
I think this touches back on what I kind of said at the beginning of our chat around, I do feel like there's this general vibe that kids are welcome in New Zealand. And so, again, like on Waiheke, there's another vineyard, Man of War. They've got a really cool playground there. It's right on the beach. It's kind of like on the beach. It's just places that you would sometimes think are not going to be child friendly, like a vineyard. They're really welcoming of kids. And they actually, it's not just that they welcome them, they have things specifically for them. And I just kind of love that about New Zealand, where you don't feel like your kids are a burden coming along. It's like, they're really welcome everywhere. And I really love that when we're traveling.
I had that feeling too, yeah. Another cute little thing that I noticed, this could be across the board in New Zealand. I saw it in Wellington too, but in Napier, we were crossing the road and one of the pedestrian crossings, the lights that flash with here it's a red or green man. There was like a person walking the dog. That was the picture that was flashing. That was the crossing.
Yeah.
And then I saw that again in Wellington. It looked like maybe it was someone doing the haka.
It's just these little touches of like playfulness, right? Like little elements of bringing play into everyday life.
Yes.
I think I just love that so much.
Is that common? Is that all across New Zealand?
I would say that it's relatively common. I hope it's going to become more and more common. But yeah, definitely I think it's like, I was talking to somebody recently about it. I can't remember the terminology they use, but it's kind of like playifying or, public spaces that would otherwise not be suitable for play. And so you see this quite often where maybe it's just like a pedestrian footpath and then they've added just like a few play elements, not a full playground, but just something interesting for the kids. Like the suburb that we live in Auckland, they kind of have these painted lines on the ground that the kids can follow as they're walking to make it like a little obstacle course just on the footpath. And then it goes off into like a bush and then there's those stepping logs in the bush and then it comes back out onto the path. And so just like little elements like that where it's like the world that you live in is also considering the children that live in that space.
I think
do you know what I mean?
Sydney could definitely do better at that. There's some great ideas. Yeah. And it's fun, if it's something to spot if you are going to these places, ask your kids to keep an eye out for something fun when they're crossing the road. Because I also in Wellington, we were staying in an area, I can't remember the name of it, but the lights were drag queens. So it would flash this little drag queen crossing the road. What's the name of that area? Cool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Cuba Street.
Cuba Street. Yeah.
We were in Auckland City and I noticed that there was like a hide and seek as well happening. And this was like a year ago or two maybe, but we were like in, the CBD, like the main city area. And my daughter was like, oh, what's that? And we were like, oh, what is that? And it was like a teddy bear up a pole. And then it was like, we saw there was this board up and it had this I Spy of like things to try and find. And it was like, I spy a whale, and then it was like, there was this toy whale that had been like put on top of a lamppost or something. And then it was like all these different things, for them to find. And it's just like, these really fun things happening just in public spaces. And I love it because it just makes you feel like kids are a consideration, not an afterthought. They're actually, public spaces are being built with the people that use them in mind. And a huge number of those people are children. And so I really love that. I think it's super cool.
Also in the Hawke's Bay region, we went up to Te Mata Peak.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. What a view.
Amazing.
But we were so lucky because we were actually there on one of your hottest days of the year. You were getting the hot winds from Sydney.
Yeah, so you felt like you were at home?
Yeah, we felt very at home. So just after we went up, they closed the lookout for a few days because it was a fire hazard.
So you were so lucky with the timing.
Yeah, we were so lucky. And they also closed some other areas too, including this beautiful waterfall or lagoon.
Yeah.
We were going to go cool off in it.
Yeah.
And it was extra sad because in the Hawke's Bay region, there is this beautiful long stretch of coastline.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to go in the water.
Yeah.
You can't swim
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And it looks so inviting. It's bright blue and calm. Well, it looks calm. It didn't look dangerous at all. It was very deceiving.
Yeah, I know it can be. I think actually that's something that gets that tourists get caught out with quite a lot. And I don't know if it's the same in Australia. I imagine it would be, but the tides are actually so powerful. And not every beach is a swimming beach. And I think especially even more so, I'd say on the west coast, where our beaches are really strong tidal, very rips and currents and stuff. But
yeah.
I think it's quite a problem for tourists who are coming and not realizing, the power of the ocean almost. So yeah. But there are a lot of beautiful, like in New Zealand, we're also lucky because we have a lot of like rivers and lakes and other swimming spots as well, which are mostly quite safe. There's a couple, going back to Rotorua, but there's a couple in Rotorua where they're like warm thermal spots that aren't mainstream, like.
Naturally
yeah,
heated.
like we went to one called Kerosene Creek, and it's kind of
a scary name.
Yeah. And if you didn't know what you're looking for, it'd be harder to find. But it's just this little, a little walk along a river, and then it's got this beautiful kind of water, like very short waterfall, and you can be either at the top of it or you can be at the bottom, and the water's really lovely and warm.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, and there's a lot of kind of those natural spots as well for swimming. So if you're coming to New Zealand as well, a really great website is Safe Swim.
Safe Swim.
Yes, that will tell you where the safe swimming spots are, especially with the beaches. And so in Auckland, one of the problems that we have, it sounds terrible, but like after a big storm, a lot of the beaches become unswimmable.
Yep, same here.
And so you can check the water quality, you can check if there's any warnings in place. And so that's just a good one to bookmark if you're traveling around in summer and planning on swimming. You can just have a quick look. It's super easy to use. It's called Safe Swim.
What's the website?
It's just safeswim.org.nz, and it's just so you can use that to find up-to-date information. Just a handy little reference to have with you.
And great to know New Zealand has no snakes, because that would be my concern here. Walking to one of these lagoons and, getting bitten by a snake on the way.
Oh, no.
We're wild out here in Australia. All right, Wellington was our last stop, and it definitely lived up to its name, the Windy City. The day we arrived, it was blowing a gale. In fact, the whole drive from Hawke's Bay to Wellington was incredibly windy, and it just picked up as we got closer. And I drove the second half as we arrived into the city, and I was so scared because the car was I felt like we were going to veer off into the water. I was gripping that steering wheel with my dear life. It turned out to be one of Wellington's windiest days, but that was it. The rest of our trip was really calm and beautiful.
There's a saying in New Zealand, you can't beat Wellington on a good day. And it's true. Like Wellington, when the weather is great, is amazing. But I would say that the weather is not always great. And so, we call it, it's Windy Wellington for a reason. I think as you fly in, it's got the like letters on the...
Yes, it's like the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, and it looks like they're kind of blowing away. It's got that reputation, the weather can be a bit hit and miss. But when it's good weather in Wellington, it's just like... It's so beautiful. You can't beat it on a good day.
We didn't have too long there. We went to Weta, the special effects workshop. And so obviously my partner really wanted to go to that. We did do the tour. It's another one where you have to do a tour. You can't just rock up. And it probably was a bit too much for my daughter at 10 years old. There's some scary masks in there.
Really scary.
They have this like giant ogres out the front, and is it Gollum from Lord of the Rings? He's there. So that was a little bit scary, but I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
If you've got kids that are like a bit more sensitive or, prone to like nightmares and things, I would say that, you could probably skip it. But especially for adults, or if you're really into film or, visual effects and things, it's so interesting.
Yeah. Now, I'm keeping you so long, but I can't not mention our favourite thing to do in Wellington, and that was Space Place. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh, a nice little surprise. We went up the cable car. The Botanic Gardens are there, and then you just walk around and there's this kind of like an observatory on the top. but inside the dome is a movie theatre and they play space-related or educational documentaries, but the one we saw was definitely for kids as well. And it was all about how New Zealand was discovered.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Like you lie back looking at the ceiling to watch the video.
Kind of like it's like a planetarium, right?
Yeah, planetarium, that's it. And then attached to it is the museum.
Yeah.
And that was a highlight for us. Yeah, really cute little find.
And so nice as well getting the tram up there.
Excellent for kids. Little ones would love it too.
Yeah.
And big kids like me. There's a cafe at the top. The Botanic Garden's gorgeous and very easy to walk around. Again, another amazing park.
Yeah.
And there was like a kids' nature garden as well. We spent the whole day there.
That was going to be my suggestion for Wellington as well, was going to the Botanic Gardens because it is beautiful. The fact that you've got the tram there as well and then the playground, the cafe, it's got kind of like so much to do that you could just easily spend a lot of time. And it's, really suitable for kids. But yeah, I think for us, like we love interesting public transport. And so the tram for us is such a highlight.
Yeah. We were wondering like, where is this tram? Or it's a funicular really. It has the ropes, the two ropes that pull it up to the top.
It's more just like novelty factor, isn't it?
Yeah, I just was wondering, where is it? But then it pops up kind of in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And there's the entryway and then you go up the mountain and the Botanic Gardens are free. You don't have to pay. I think it's $9 for the funicular. It's a cheap day out, really.
It is, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, such a fun thing with kids as well, especially. But even without kids, I'd still recommend it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Now, I've kept you here for so long, but I've got to ask you, what are some of your unmissable hotspots that I haven't mentioned that you think people should visit with kids?
I think if you're coming to New Zealand and you're just wanting to do the North Island, we did a 10-day road trip around Northland. So we picked up our camper van in Auckland and we did a 10-day loop around, going up to the Bay of Plenties, all the way up to Cape Reinga, back down.
So this is all north, isn't it?
This is all north of Auckland.
Yes.
And I feel like I don't have any stats to back this up, but I feel like most people, they fly into Auckland and then they go south, they go south and they whichever direction that is. And that's
I'm guilty.
There's so much to do and there's so much to see, but perhaps even if you've come before and you've done some of those other spots and you're thinking like, well, we've done the North Island. That was my favourite ever New Zealand trip that we've done with our daughter. And so we had a camper van. We did this loop around the North Island. Beautiful, beautiful spots to stop off at. Went to the Bay of Islands, did the boat tours. She loved all of that, going spotting dolphins and things. And just really especially in summer, you can just stop off at all these amazing little absolutely deserted beaches, have a little play, have a swim. I think it's so underrated and not a lot of people kind of go north of Auckland. And even just slightly out of Auckland, there's Masakana and Lee and there's beautiful beaches up there, but also the farmers market. There's great little spots for kids. There's beautiful vineyards around there as well. There's amazing walks and stuff. There's kind of sculpture parks as well. You can walk around and look at these big sculptures. It's just, I think north of Auckland, there is so much on offer that people don't really even consider. The next on my bucket list for New Zealand is actually going to New Plymouth. I have never been to New Plymouth. I've never been before. And I'm going to Taranaki. I think that there's just been this amazing, again, destination playground that's opened, but it's got a water park element and it's the biggest, I think it's for the category that it comes under, the type of playground it is, it's one of the largest in the Southern Hemisphere. And so it looks absolutely stunning. And it is so...
Wait, where's that?
In Taranaki, so in New Plymouth.
Okay. Where is that exactly? I don't even know.
So, you went to Hawke's Bay, which is on the east coast, and so Taranaki's on the west coast, and so it's the other little point on the other side.
Okay.
And so that's really high on my bucket list as well. And if you are into kind of walks or nature, we've got, especially with older kids, things like there's rail trails that you can do for biking trips.
Yes, we did an episode with, do you know Hamish Blake over there in New Zealand?
Yes.
A big Aussie celebrity. He came on and he loves New Zealand. He really championed the bike trails, rail trail rides.
Yes.
He loves getting outdoors. Yeah, I think he even has a place in on the South Island that he goes to a lot.
There's some really great bike trails if you're into biking family trips, but also if you're just into walking, there's quite a few manageable day ones as well. And you can also book to stay overnight. We have dock huts. Dock is Department of Conservation, and they're really cheap most of the time, very affordable. And you can do kind of a walk into a dock hut, stay overnight, and then walk out the next day. And you kind of got to be a bit more prepared for something like that, rather than just spontaneous. But there's a lot of really beautiful walks in that part of New Zealand that I'm keen to do as well. We've done 2 so far with our kids, 2 overnight dock
I think I
huts.
heard about one story on another podcast where a chopper was involved, but that's a story for another time. We don't have time.
We don't have time for that today. But I did one with my friend. We were both pregnant, and she ended up getting helicoptered out. But everyone was fine, and it's ended fine. But there's also quite a few like little islands, especially around Auckland and the Hauraki Gulf. But there's a lot of little islands that you can go to as well. I think just generally like giving yourself more time is my biggest advice, and just accepting that you can't see everything. Like, it is actually a really big place. It's bigger than people kind of think, and I think in my opinion, like 10 days is kind of the sweet spot for a North Island trip with kids.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
Am I getting an A+ for my trip? I did everything right.
Oh, you totally are, because we did 10 days for our North Island camper van trip, and it was perfect. But like traveling by car, obviously road trip, don't try and fly places. The destination is like the journey, not the destination, and then allowing time to stop off at places as you go. And I think no matter how many times you come back, there'll always be more things to see. Yeah, there's so much to do, and there's so much for kids as well, and also just so much for adults. So it is like a huge big playground for everyone.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I want to go back now and discover all those places.
Yeah.
Now it's time for a new segment called Kids Corner. It's where the mini travellers get to ask the questions. Some big, some small, and some a little bit quirky.
Hi, I'm Piper, and here's my question.
Okay, cool.
Can you spot a kiwi in the wild?
You can. So there's a few islands that you can go to spot kiwi, and one of them, if you're in the South Island, Stewart Island, they have kiwis, and then another in Auckland that we've just recently been to is Motahi, and you can spot kiwis there at night. They're both pest protected, so when we went out to Motahi, we had to make sure our gear was all bagged up properly. There's no pests that you'll bring onto the island. But they're not just roaming around, in cities. You kind of have to go somewhere specifically with that in mind, that you'd like to see them. You might get lucky in some other spots, but yeah, if you're really wanting to see a kiwi, then have a check of the dock website for their recommendations, and the pest-free islands. We've got a lot of them. They're the best spots to go. They're definitely not just roaming around, and they're also nocturnal. So they're asleep all day. They only come out at night. And if you want to go spotting them, if you've got like a head torch or something that has the red light, that won't scare them away.
Oh, cute. Oh, that's good advice. Okay, here's another question.
What is there to do in the town named Te Matawhakatani Hanuko Au Au o Tamatea Turibu Kakapiki and the Ananoko Pū Kai Whengoa Ki Tana Hai?
Wow, that was so impressive. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Honestly, the people that live there will probably disagree with me, but I think taking a photo with the sign name is about the highlight of going there.
Yeah.
I haven't actually stopped off there for long enough to do anything else, but yeah, I think people definitely go for the claim to fame. It's the longest place name in the world, and people love that fact. And so going there to have a photo with the sign, or walking along with a video of, the whole, it goes on forever. That is definitely like iconic. But yeah, other than that, I wouldn't say, don't drag your kids there just for the sign.
Yes, it was a bit off the beaten track for us, so we gave it a miss, but she was practicing that name, and
she did amazing.
Yeah, well, Renata, can you say it?
I would absolutely butcher it. I'm not even going to try.
I just got Te Matawhakatani. That's as far as I go.
She did amazing. She did so well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Renata, but I wonder if you have a few more seconds to do my Fast Five.
Yes, sure.
Okay, here we go. Renata Wiles. Window or aisle seat?
Always window.
I never travel without?
My passport and my credit card. My partner and I have always said, as long as we have those two things, you can buy anything you've forgotten.
First thing you do when you arrive at your destination?
Oh, that is such a good question. To probably give the kids some snacks, if I'm honest. Probably get food, I would say. Whenever we get somewhere new, probably the first stop is always getting something to eat.
If money was no object, what's your dream destination?
Got to be Japan. I think that's so high on my bucket list right now.
And finally, what snacks do you pack in your suitcase?
So our go-to is always Oreos, which is probably controversial, but it's like you can buy it anywhere. Our kids love it. They've almost associated it now with being something that we eat when we're on holiday. It's like it's a crowd pleaser. I know they're going to eat it. I know they're going to be excited about it. If anyone's upset, it's like, don't use food to hide your emotions, but it's such a easy win when we're out. As a general rule, anything I know they're going to eat, but we're so not fussed about what they eat when we're traveling. We just want them to eat something. So anything that is the flavor of the month that I know that they're going to eat, that's what we'll pack.
What about cookie time?
Oh, I know. Well, Oreos just come in a better shaped pack. It just fits better in our suitcase,
Never seen Cookie Time before. It's obviously a New Zealand brand.
Oh, so good. Did you try one?
I did, yeah. Big choc chip cookie. It was delicious. And then I saw him everywhere. Like he does collaborations with different restaurants. Mr. Cookie, whoever he is, he's delicious.
I know. And they sell them at school. I don't know. Do you call them tuck shops? Like the lunch shop at school. Yeah. And they'll put it on top of, like we've got pie warmers as well. And they'll put them on top of the pie warmer. And so you can get a hot one or a cold one. And then the hot one's like all melted and like delicious.
Oh, stop. Yum. That is delicious. I got to try that. Well, thank you so much, Renata. I hope everyone's out there booking a holiday to the North Island of New Zealand. And I'll put all the links in the show notes. But where can we find you on social media?
So you can, if you're just wanting travel tips and advice, you can follow Roam with Kids. And if you're wanting to see just like my personal adventures in life, I'm at Renata Roaming on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find the Roam with Kids app in the App Store or the Google Play Store. And if you're traveling in New Zealand, especially road tripping, it will save you from having meltdowns, not being able to find places to go. All of the best spots are in there. Most of the spots in there are also free things to do. So if you're wanting to save a bit of money, it will give you like hundreds of ideas.
Love it. Thank you so much. I hope this episode helps you plan your New Zealand North Island adventure. And as we discussed, I really do believe that the North Island has more for younger kids, primary school or, early teens and under. There are tons of activities that are age appropriate for them. And the South Island is more for your adrenaline junkies or nature explorers. As Renata said, it's the journey and not the destination when it comes to New Zealand. It's not like a ski holiday or a theme park holiday. The beauty and the fun is all around you as you go. It feels safe, there's less people, less cars, no snakes, and lots of wide open spaces to run around. Thank you so much for listening to my first episode of Season 3. I'd love you to leave a review. Tell me what you think of the podcast. Or if you have any questions about New Zealand's North Island, send me an email to snacksandsuitcasespodcast@gmail.com or follow on Instagram. And the handle is @snacksandsuitcasespodcast. And don't forget to follow Renata as well. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, happy travels.
And don't forget the snacks.